Welcome to the Spinoso Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Spinoso, and my expertise is in scaling all types of medical businesses. And you guys already know the rest. So I'm going to get into it right away today. Hello, Miss Amanda May. Welcome back
Hello,
to
good
the
morning.
dojo.
Yes, I love it. I
All right.
really want to have one of those
A
at my
dojo?
house. I do, yeah. I would love to
Isn't
have
that like
like
an
a,
entire building?
yeah.
Or is it like a room? It's not a room, is
Uh,
it? It's like a
It's
whole
like a
building.
building, yeah. But like where you could actually,
Like do karate?
yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Do you know
well,
karate? Or
no,
are
but
you
I
just
would
going to
learn
like
if I had
screw
one.
around? If I had a dojo, I would definitely learn for sure.
I need enough acreage that I can build a dojo and a spa
Mm-hmm.
and a gym. I would never leave my house
Yeah.
because as much as I do like going out and doing events, I like 36 hours is like my max. And then I want to be in my house and not see a single soul
Yeah, for sure.
for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
And then I'm
building
like,
everything at home would be the
I
best.
can come back out.
You have everything at home. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. That is the goal. That is the goal we're talking about. Okay, what are we getting into
Yes.
today, though?
All hidden in the woods too. So nobody knows where you're
That is okay.
at.
The super ninja, I guess.
All right. So today we're going to talk about something that every entrepreneur faces, but not a lot of people talk about. And that is letting yourself down and feeling like you let other people down or even other people letting you down. It's emotional, it's frustrating, and sometimes it can really shake your confidence depending on how you see it. So, we're going to actually dive into how you see this and what you think your takeaways are when it comes to having experienced some of these things in your life and business.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a difficult thing because no matter what, if you are going to try and build something of yourself, try and build a business, multiple businesses, whatever you're trying to do, just be a good person. You're gonna definitely have letdowns of yourself, letdowns of other people. So, getting into it, no matter what, the biggest letdown that you're gonna have throughout all this, guys, is if you break your own integrity. So, really, the worst type of self disappointment isn't failure. It's like breaking your own core values. And there's a program called 75 Hard invented by my friend Andy Frisella. And it is a mental strength program. And he says at the beginning, like if you try and do it and you fail and you keep failing, it that will fuck you up more than anything. So if you're not one of those people who can finish something, then don't even try and do it. And it's true when it comes to anything in life. If you're going to try something and just try instead of just doing it and you fail and then you keep just trying it over and over without learning from your mistakes, without changing things, that's going to destroy you more than anything because it you end up violating your standards, you end up saying one thing and then doing another, you end up compromising, things and situations as you go through it. And I mean, even in the real world, there was a study that I read about when it came to people who bought like fake watches and stuff like
Mm,
that, or fake luxury. It said that they don't really feel any better than they did without it. And I think that's part of what we're talking about here is that that's that integrity line. That's that, making
mm.
you focused on what the truth is. And yeah, I've got a bunch of fake shit. I mean, just because I don't feel like buying like real shit some of the times. But that being said, yeah, it doesn't make you feel any different. It doesn't make you feel any more accomplished than the watches and the cars and the maybe the shoes or the clothing or even the schooling that your kids can go to, that my kids go to, that you're like, yeah, I earned that for
Mm.
sure.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when we break that word to ourselves, it's even in small ways that people aren't really paying attention to, but those small things add up over time with really how you feel about yourself and the projection of trust in the world. Because if you think you can't trust people, it's because you can't trust yourself.
Yep.
And it's in the small things daily. It could be not eating 2 cookies, but eating 1. You tell yourself, "I'm just gonna eat 1 cookie," and then you're like, "Well, let me have 2."
Yeah.
And it's like those are seemingly small things, but they are a broken word to yourself, and we're talking about bigger core value life things that we're going to dig into more. But it's even the small stuff that you stop trusting your own word to yourself, which means you're going to project out that that is what everybody else does too.
Yep.
So you're going to experience a lot less trust in the world around you because that's your filter.
Yeah.
Tell us about like a personal time when you actually feel like you crossed one of your own standards, and what was that like?
A specific time. I don't know if I could think of a specific time that I've done this. I mean, it's like you said, it's the little things, the little promises that you make to yourself and that you break that cause issues. So there's always been like, I mean, especially when you're going to when building Genesis or even in my home life, trying to think that I can do it all and make time for the kids and not being able to see them during the day. So those are little broken promises. And it's like, okay, am I really being a good dad? Am I really being a good husband here? It's when you have team members that leave or quit or put in their notice, and it could have been for standards. It could have been you holding the line, and then some of them are like, "Oh, I just don't like working here." The new phrase around nowadays is, "Oh, the workplace is toxic," which is just an excuse for people to say like they hate working there and they want an excuse for shit. And even though you don't have like a toxic culture or problems like that, on the surface level, people always like to talk, and so that's still like those are little things that bother you or that bother me as an integrity issue. And, you know, the thing is, you don't know. If you don't know you have a problem, you can't fix it. If you don't know somebody else has problems, you can't fix it. But with this, with really controlling your own life, making your own decisions, it's sitting down and saying, okay, well, what am I doing that I shouldn't be doing? What is incongruent with what I think or what I feel or I mean, maybe not even what I think or I feel, it's what I should be doing. So if you break trust right away, trying to fix it immediately. If you break one of your core values, how do you fix it? And the difficult part is it's like dieting where you can diet and exercise for a long period of time and it takes forever for your body to transform and look that way, and then you spend one bad weekend really binging and stuff, and your cravings come back and you're off the wagon, and it's a whole hell of a lot harder to come back, and your body might look completely different after just a weekend or just a week of eating like garbage. And it's the same with uh the integrity is like once you break your integrity, it's a lot harder to dig yourself out of that hole. So not doing it in the first place is is what I recommend, because it's a lot harder to fail and break your integrity on the way of failing and then try and correct
Mm.
it quickly or try and get back out of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so years ago, I got involved in a personal development course, and during my master's program where I was getting my master's in this, there was like this separate room next to the room that we were actually like the bigger group was in. And I'm like, what are those people doing? Like they were all a part of our group, but like I didn't really know what was going on in that room.
mm,
And I'm like, who are they? What are they doing? Why are they in a different room? And one of the trainers for the program said to me, "We don't really announce that because when the student is ready, they find it." And I was like, "Okay, I'm ready. What is it?"
yeah, yeah, I'm ready now. Okay.
What's that? And
All right,
so
you weird sage, just let me in the fucking room. Like,
well, and it makes sense because that room
was a giant
was
orgy.
doing a course called Integrity,
Oh, okay.
and it's 9
Which
days.
meant that you were not?
Well, it's
Like
it's
like, you
9
can't go
days.
in there.
It depends, and I understood it when
Uh-huh.
why she said it when I started taking the course.
Mm,
So it's 9 days of personal integrity, which means you have to be at a level of consciousness where you're willing to be honest about your own misalignments and lack of integrity. And it takes a level of growth and honesty and stuff that not everybody's ready for.
yeah.
So you literally, for 9 days, focus on where have I manipulated people through things that I've said, done, how I've approached situations, where have I had hidden agendas,
Mm,
when should I have said something and I didn't? When did I say something and I shouldn't have? Like all of these things, like when did I break my own core values? And you are literally looking at your life like, holy shit,
Yeah.
I have a lot to clean up.
That class sounds terrible.
Yeah, except it's amazing. And I've taken it every year since the the first year that I discovered it.
Mhm.
And it's again
So
like
obviously it doesn't
now,
work.
well,
You
you
gotta keep
have
going back every
well,
year.
you should because you have a whole year's worth of
Yeah.
things going on, right?
It's 7 days long, so the other
9,
300 and what?
9
How
days.
many days are in a year? 365?
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
so the
I'm
other
not like a mental math
three hundred
person.
and 357 days out of the year, you're just lining it
Well,
up
no,
for the
I
next
think
year.
I think it's the small things like what
Yeah.
we're talking about eating the cookie and you shouldn't.
Oh, you
Little stuff
bastard.
like that,
Okay.
but it does add up, and I feel like when you clean that stuff up, it allows you to move with more transparency and connection because it's the small things that create disconnection,
Mhm.
like in our world, in our relationships, and it's like, I mean, truthfully, it's like, yeah, sometimes I have hidden agendas. I want something out of this that I'm not telling you about,
Yeah.
but and that's felt like if I'm communicating in a way that there's some sort of, you've talked to people and you're like, there's something going on there that
Mhm.
I can't quite pinpoint, but I know something's not right.
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff. So you want to clean that stuff up so that when you are moving in business and building teams and stuff, you're truly creating connection and you're coming from a clean place.
Yeah.
And it's, the nice part is as the years have gone on, to your point, I clean up a lot less now.
Yeah.
That first year
There you
was a
go.
real doozy because I had never actually looked at that stuff. But um but it's super important and we're talking about core values. We often talk on the podcast about having core values in business,
Mhm.
but there's real value in having personal core values. Sometimes those overlap, but sometimes there are differences between, personal life core values and how we operate in our relationships, intimate relationships and with our families, that those things aren't necessarily the same as what you're going to do, in a work environment, but in this particular point, it's really about the personal core values and
Mhm.
breaking those types of things. And the punch of the gut that feels like when you realize, like, shit, I didn't do what I say is important to me.
Yeah.
What does actually repairing it look like? Because you said you have to repair it, you need to fix it as quickly as possible, get back into alignment. What does that look like?
It's just like when you get off your diet, or we talked about that. It's going back to square one, where you were before. And I mean, when I say square one, I don't mean starting over again. I mean, once you break your integrity or once you break a promise to yourself, you say, okay, cool. I'm human. I'm not perfect. I'm fallible. And let's move on and get back to where we were before. And you just restart. I
Mhm.
mean, it's as simple as that. And I think people make it into this big thing that, they get depressed for a week and then they have issues getting back on it, and then like everybody's gonna know, and nobody's gonna know. Nobody's really gonna know unless you broke your integrity. Dealing with one person or dealing with people, other people won't know.
Yeah.
So you just get back on the horse. You go back to what you were doing before. You go back to having that integrity and living that way and living those core values. And I mean, you'll forget about it at some point in time.
Yeah.
The faster, the better. The sooner you get back to it, the better you're gonna be. Period.
Yeah, so it's recognized, you have to be aware enough to recognize
Yeah,
that
well, you'll
something was
feel
off.
it. Like, I think you're gonna feel it, honestly. You're gonna feel I don't know, it's feeling like you broke up with somebody or feeling like you failed. Like, you're gonna know. You're definitely gonna know. Your body's gonna know. I mean, there is one thing that is for certain. The body can not only hold so much stress and so much guilt and until it starts folding in on itself and causing weird medical issues and stuff like that. And, people have all these weird diagnoses or headaches all the time, or they have heart palpitations or all that crap. And if you're not living in congruency with what your integrity is or what your core values are, there can be a lot of medical things that come up, or just headaches in general, or the lack of desire of getting out of bed, all because you're just not creating action and you're not living a life of integrity and your core values. So I guess there is a part to that where it's like, okay, well, I should recognize this. But if you guys are listening to this and you feel like shit every fucking day and you just like look at what you're doing, look at where you are on a daily basis, look at the actions that you're making and saying, hey, is what I'm doing on a day to day basis aligning with who I am, aligning with my core values? And if it's not, then guess what? That's your diagnosis. It's not some random shit. It's not low B12 or fucked up hormones or any of that. You start with that first.
Yeah, I mean, people that I see, people post on their stories or whatever that they're up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, they can't sleep, their mind is going crazy. And I'm like, there's probably some things to work on.
Mhm.
That's not normal.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe once in a while if you happen to be up thinking about things, but not on a consistent basis. I
no,
think, yeah, it's your body telling you like you're out of alignment and it's an alarm going off and you have to pay attention to it because if you don't, that's when some of those other issues can come up.
exactly.
Yeah. The the next aspect to this that, comes from like a personal, but I feel like leads into business, which is like your work ethic
Mhm.
and how that's impacted by personal integrity and living out your core values and how what's your take on work ethic and making sure you're aligned and what that looks like in your
Yeah, that's
life?
the biggest thing that I think will cause you mentally to be fucked up is the fact that when you start to know that you're not pushing to the absolute limits that you possibly can, then you're gonna have problems because you know you let yourself down and you know you didn't put in like your 100% effort. And like, you'll know when you cut corners, you'll know when you, they called it in college cheat the green. So I went to Dartmouth College. We didn't have a mascot. It was we were like the green or something like that. We used to have a mascot. His name was Keggy. He was a giant keg. So
That's
yeah,
like how he looked?
yeah. Oh, he was a giant keg. Yeah, he was a
Okay.
keg that walks. You go look him up. Keggy, bring him up. Keggy the keg. Yeah, he would be at parties and shit like
What
that.
a name.
Yeah, that's why obviously the NCAA didn't like that.
Yeah.
So we got rid of Keggy. It was
Um,
just the green. And so like Cornell was brown, Browns and stuff like that. Ivy League people are not very intelligent when it comes to cool names. So the trainer for D1 soccer and for rugby, he was this he was this jacked dude and I remember he had his M&M blonde hair. I don't even know if he was really blonde. He would always yell throughout the entire weight room, throughout like any of the running back and forth. He would just consistently scream like, "Don't cheat the green! Don't cheat the green!" And it would be when it came to the certain number of reps you were supposed to do, whether we were doing compounding lifts or touching the line. They call it touching the line. If you're running shuttle runs back and forth across the field or across the gym, making sure that your foot touches the line each edge because when you don't touch the line maybe once it's not going to be a big deal, but you start to do that over and over and over and you create a habit for yourself of cheating. You create a habit for yourself of cutting corners. And the crazy thing about that is that in team sports, yes, you are affecting everyone and yourself, but when it comes to like life and you start to cheat the green or you start to not touch the line, you're only really fucking yourself up at the beginning. You screw yourself up, like, you're the one who's not, living to that next level, and guess what? That's gonna somebody who is touching the line, they're gonna beat you. People like to beat themselves up about it once they, like, recognize that,
Mhm.
and guess what? Your punishment was already just, like, not being as good as you could have been. Your punishment was already losing when you could have won if you were all in. So if you just recognize it, as soon as you recognize it, accept it, change it, adapt, touch the line, start to do it over again. It's going to be hard, but if you don't recalibrate and you don't move towards what you're supposed to be doing, then you're just going to have a whole bunch of regret and issues and all that stuff that comes with it.
Yeah. I would say that I have a different viewpoint on that because I do think it impacts other people. Even if it's like a personal thing that's going on, there is always an impact to others from the choices that we make. Sometimes those impacts are small, sometimes they're big, but there's always someone else that is at the effect of, I guess, with the decisions that we make. So I give a very real example of even today and with the podcast. So when we first started the podcast for the first few years, I would print them off, I would study them, I would look up things if we were talking about, let's say, Elon Musk, like I would look up certain things so that I could, just like be more prepared for the podcast.
Mhm.
And the last few times I haven't done that.
Mm.
And I thought about this. I was like, this is a very real situation. So you had sent me the show notes and like things that we were going to talk about. And I thought, I haven't actually, now I haven't asked for them either
Yeah.
in the last, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times we filmed. So speaking of the podcast, something that I recognized is like I was taking time to really study out
Mhm.
and study, like if we were talking about certain people. And then we kind of ended the segment on other people and we started just talking about business and stuff. And so the last couple of times we filmed, I was like, well, I already know this content. Like
Mhm.
I could talk about this all day. It's
Yeah.
totally fine. Like I'll just review right before we start. And this week when you sent me them, I was like, you know what? I'm not my work ethic is to show up prepared and like how do I approach things? And
Mhm.
like I like to be prepared and on it and ready and like but I'm not doing that. And so, I made the decision. I was like, okay, I'm going back to like printing things off and reviewing. But it was like, it's a small thing that I let go for a little while. And then I was like, okay, I'm not showing up my best. But that doesn't just impact me, that impacts you.
Mhm.
That impacts the people that are listening. The quality of the content is different. So I could be like, well, it's just me not showing up my best and I'm the
Yep.
one that, has to deal with that, but it's not the case.
Yeah.
Like there are other people that are impacted. So, I think just being really really clear on even the small things, when it comes to work ethic and stuff. What kind of things do you put in place in your life that keep you from going to like coast mode? Do you ever deal with that? Like feeling like, I just want to coast. Like there's so much going on. I just want to like coast for a
Oh,
second.
no, I look, everybody's gonna do that, and I believe everybody is gonna have those times where they're gonna coast for a little bit. That's totally normal. So I can't say like there's things that I recognize where I'm like, oh, I'm coasting, I gotta change it. And so no, I definitely keep very, very focused, but you're gonna get into coasting. There's gonna be parts in your life where you think like, "Oh, I've made it," and you're at the high, and those are very, very short-lived, and the same with the lows. Oh, those are very, very those are very short-lived, hopefully for you, as well. So, again, just remind yourself, "Okay, what am I doing this for? What's the next step? I want to grow, I want to improve, so, like, what's the next step? What's the next thing I need to be doing in order to succeed here, or in order to get closer to what I want and make sure that I am living my core values. That's kind of how you stop the coasting and refocus yourself.
So let's dive into two different sides to this because there is accountability and then there's like an unproductive self criticism. So, like, how do you keep yourself for people listening? So, this is the first part of the question. How do you keep yourself accountable without it falling into some sort of unhealthy self criticism? I'm terrible. This is the worst person ever, whatever that self talk might be.
Yeah, there's a distinct difference I think between being accountable to yourself and having accountability and then just talking negative on yourself. Like telling yourself that you're a piece of shit or you're useless or you're never going to get anywhere in life or all those things that you might think, oh, people are better without you, etc. That's all negative self-talk. Like that doesn't improve your life in any way. And I guess a way to think about that is what I'm saying right now, not is it true, because either way your mind will fuck with you, but is it improving or allowing me to objectively think about this situation and change. Like, if you keep telling yourself, well, yeah, I'm a piece of shit, like, again, you're going to look at it and say, okay, well, you know, is that really helping me, or is there something that I could change to not be a piece of shit? Like that's really difficult to get through.
Yeah.
Instead of, okay, well, I messed up here or I broke my core values here. Okay, well, I can do this to fix it. I can improve this to fix it. And that's a huge distinction between negative self-talk and actually talking to yourself in a way that is, productive criticism of yourself.
Yeah, so it's recognizing, like, what would you say to somebody else in this situation? Like, if your friend came to you and said, "Oh, I realized I wasn't living up to my standards because I didn't print off my papers for the podcast." You'd be like, "Oh my god, you're a terrible person. Like, they should fire you. You're awful." Or you can be like, "Okay, well, get your shit together and start doing it." Like, there are two very different conversations. And then, for people that are stuck in the guilt of some sort of underperformance in their past, whether somebody knows about it or doesn't know about it, they're the only one that knows about it. Or let's say, it was brought up in some sort of meeting or something like that. What would you say to people listening that are stuck in that mental loop of a mistake they've made or some sort of underperformance that they have had in the past?
Specifically, an example.
Or
Hmm.
maybe just general, like what would you say to somebody if
I
they're
mean,
in that mental loop of
you're gonna make mistakes. Everyone's gonna make mistakes. That's part of life. That's part of the human condition and part of growing. The more mistakes you can make and learn from, the more money you're going to make, for sure. Otherwise, if you're not learning from your mistakes, then you're not growing as a person. You're not growing in your business. You're not growing as a leader. So if you're in that guilt, if you're stuck in that guilt, just realize, like, just let that shit go. Like, that's going to not serve you in terms of growth. And at the same time, realize that you're going to fuck up again if you're really pushing the envelope and improving yourself. You're going to
Mhm.
consistently have problems with making mistakes. It's okay. You'll make less mistakes as you grow, but you're still going to make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, I feel like totally is like as you're pushing growth too, things that you maybe were okay with at one point, you're going to go, okay, I'm no longer okay with that because
Hmm.
now I want to get to the next level.
Right.
And to get to the next level, I can't do that.
Yep.
But there might have been a time where like doing that was totally fine for you.
Yep.
So continuing to push the growth means you're going to constantly look back and go, that's not going to work anymore.
Yep.
But you can't beat yourself up over who you've been. I listen to I know you love these things. I listen to a meditation almost every night, and one of the things it tells me is how wonderful I am,
Mm.
but it tells me, like, it's literally telling me, it says that forgive your past selves because they're the ones that have brought you here. And I feel like that's such a great thing to think about at night, certainly, like, there are things in life where I might be like, "Man, I really screwed that thing up," you know? And it might not be something I think about all the time, but if it comes up, it's just like a good reminder, like, all of those things brought me to this place today and who I am today, and I'm grateful for who I am today.
Yep.
So it took that stuff, and then learning the lessons. If you keep making the same mistakes over and over, we're gonna talk about that in a minute, but yeah, so, uh, really, really good. The thing that I struggled with for many years is perfectionism, and realizing now, later in life, that perfectionism is really ego and that the focus needs to be on progress. And
Yeah.
you've said this before.
Yeah, this is again, man, when I was a kid, I used to be like, "Oh, I'm a perfectionist. I like to keep everything perfect." And I think that's good for kids to think that way, or it's good for people when they're young to start thinking like that, trying to be perfect in everything that they do. Practice like you play, practice until you're perfect. Nick Saban says we're not going to practice until we get it right. We're going to practice until we can't get it wrong, sort of thing. And when you're building a business or when you're rolling out a program or when you're trying to grow as a leader, like we've discussed time and time and time again, you are not going to be perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect. No one ever will be perfect. So, what you have to do is realize that you're okay with making those mistakes and improving on them and then getting better incrementally, slowly, steadily, 1% every day, and thinking, what's the one thing I can do right now to improve this? And going step by step, one step at a time. And that's the relentless solution focus tool we've talked about, where it's very, you know, simple, where you refine what you're trying to go after. You simplify what you're going after, and then you just move forward. It's okay to be disappointed that you're not perfect because you're human. Maybe when you think about this, realize that aiming for perfection is the wrong target. You're never going to get better. And there really all of my business mentors have said when it comes to just as simple as creating like a mission and a vision, the those things in your business can't have like an end. You can't say we're going to serve a million people. Because what happens when you serve a million people? Then your whole mission and vision that you built yourself off of was is done. Like you finished. You essentially won, and then it's like, "Okay, well, then what do we do now?" sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it has to be something where it's got almost no end to it, where you're continuously playing the game and continuously trying to improve to be better and better and better. So, that's where you have to have your excellency built through standards and reaching an almost unattainable goal.
How do you deal with combating this idea of perfectionism in the things that you're doing?
Well, now I just realized that everything's all fucked up all the time. It's literally like literally how it is. You know? It's
And laugh about it.
yeah,
Like,
it's
"Eh,
like
well, there we go."
it's you're gonna have some stuff
Mm,
figured out, but most stuff not figured out all of the time.
yeah.
And there's always going to be something on fire. And I think business owners, when they get into conferences around other business owners, they try and seem like everything is hunky dory 100% of the time. And it's not. It's terrible 80% of the time and fun 20% of the time.
Yeah.
Really. And you are the sieve, the filter for all the stuff that goes wrong, all the shit that hits the fan in your business that you're always trying to clean up and always trying to fix. So at some point, I had to be okay with that nothing was going to be, I don't want to say done right, but that nothing was going to be like the way I thought it was going to be.
Mm.
Nothing was going to run as perfectly as I thought it was going to be. And even now, if there's anything that runs well, I would say like in the back of my head, I'm always like, okay, how's it going to break? And that is that might be a really negative way to think about things, but when you're consistently fixing things and consistently improving things in your systems and your processes, you always have to have that kind of fear of, okay, well, what if it breaks? What do we do? What if this problem goes wrong? What do we do? And having those things figured out to make sure that there's always a way to pivot and your business doesn't go under. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And even, like, the goal of growth, there are gonna be different things, like, you might have a system in place, and as you grow, that system's no longer gonna work. So, at some point, you may have to think about what happens at the next stage, especially if you're scaling a business.